Hey everybody, this is the Bradenton Blitz. You can catch us on bradenton.com/sports and the Varsity 24/7 app, which is on your iPhone or Android phone via the iTunes Store or the Google Play Store. And again, this is Jason Dill, and I'm joined as always by David Wilson. And David, we have a few things to talk about, namely the coaching carousel that seems to be taking place at the high school football ranks. Postseason now, we had a couple of coaches that abruptly decided to resign at Southeast High School. You had John Warren, and Bayshore High School, you had Elijah Freeman earlier this week deciding to step down and parting ways for both coaches from the area, and leaves 2 vacancies.
Yeah, a couple district opponents too. Southeast under John Warren seemed to have really taken a step after a really disappointing first season. Won 5 games, get to the postseason in his second year. Elijah Freeman just finished his 3rd year. That's a tough job at Bayshore. He had only won 5 games in 3 years before he decided to step down. But both of those teams are in a winnable district, I think is probably the biggest appeal for both of them. Obviously, Southeast has a richer tradition than Bayshore and more recent success. Bayshore hasn't had a winning season since 2003, hasn't made the postseason since 2005. But that district doesn't have a traditional power other than Southeast that you have to compete with, and it's a good chance, I think, for a coach to come in and be able to reach the postseason relatively quickly, as long as, particularly at Southeast and at Bayshore, it's really just about getting the numbers up.
Yeah, and it seemed kind of odd timing too, because all indications said that Elijah Freeman was going to be back. He's an alum and everything. I'm kind of wondering if there's more to it than just him stepping away, and if he was in fact maybe fired, because the fact is, I mean, he didn't win a whole lot of ball games, but they don't have a lot of talent at the disposal. He was working with what he had, and those kids play hard, and they, obviously they shell out, and they were doing a lot for him and trying to buy into the system. But it's just, like you said, they're in a district that is manageable to kind of get to a playoff berth, and it has been done before at Bayshore High School. They have gone to the playoffs. It hasn't been for quite a long time now, but yeah, it's just weird. And at Southeast, bringing in John Warren, he had only been an assistant there briefly for 1 season, I believe, before he took the head coaching job in the first place, and won the job out of several candidates. Do you know yet, is there early, from your indication of handling the Bayshore story of Elijah Freeman stepping away, from Chris Brady, the athletic director there, and the administration there, do they have any leads yet on some candidates, or is it just still too early to tell?
Right now, they say, last I talked to Chris Brady was Tuesday afternoon, not long after the decision was announced, and that was very soon after Elijah Freeman told his staff. Most of his staff didn't know he was going to be stepping down, so there was no internal candidate that really stood out to them. There's not really a whole lot of alumni or coaches with connections to Bayshore in the area. Freeman was obviously the most notable one. So as of now, they didn't have a lead, as of Tuesday, I should say, but they're not particularly worried about getting candidates. They said they had about 100 candidates last time. They had a couple of finalists to choose from. Like Chris Brady said, it's a high school head coaching job in Florida, which are generally in demand.
And yes, and we talked about it as well with Southeast, another one that has a lot of candidates usually for a job opening like that. It seems like that's the way it's going to be for a head coaching job anyway. Our colleague Alan Dill wrote a column about it, or he actually covered it, but he also mentioned in it that Brett Timmons, former athletic director and head coach at Out-of-Door Academy, he's on that train of him being kind of the viable choice, or could be a leading candidate. Timmons did throw his name in the hat last time when Southeast had the opening. He's not attached to any school at the moment, so possibly he's got a great pedigree, great record. He's a Paul Meckley disciple, coming from as a player at Southeast, winning a state championship there, a couple state championships there, and he did the same thing. He didn't win a state championship at ODA, but he took ODA to a Final Four. So if you're looking for a coach, that could be the guy. Whether he wants to take it or not is another story. Moving along, we had another breaking news type of thing happen over the weekend. On Saturday, Jacob Huseman flipping college choices, and I spoke to him on Monday for a little follow-up on it about why he decided to choose Appalachian State. He just said it was the right fit. Appalachian State had a decommitment at the quarterback position for next year's class, a guy that was a legacy. His father had played at Appalachian State in the past and as a player, and had committed long before the summer started, kind of thing, or committed during the summer. And when the summer comes close and get through, they had a decommitment in late December. Opens up the door. Appalachian State comes calling, and Jacob Huseman, who said FIU, which is where he was originally committed to going, he said that was already, he was all in on them, but decides when he gets Appalachian State, takes a look at it. Administrators, coaches, people that had toured the facility before, like assistant principal Melissa Gagnon, had spoke highly of Appalachian State. Just seemed like a right fit, and he's got an official visit coming up at the end of January, but he says there's no doubt that he's going to fall in love with that place when he sees it, and it's going to be home for him, and it's going to a small, rabid football community of Boone, North Carolina, unlike what he's experienced as a senior this past year at quarterback at Braden River, because Bradenton's a little, and East Manatee are kind of spread out. It's not quite going to be the same, but if you look at it kind of like an up-and-coming program like Braden River and Appalachian State trying to make the transition to FCS football.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good up-and-coming program, obviously known for beating Michigan a couple of years back. But now they're just a good, seems like going to be at least a good mid-major program. They had a really good season, although they weren't eligible for a bowl as that part of transition.
They will be, though. And
but
that's
they will be.
And he'll have that opportunity.
And he'll have an opportunity because that team should be competitive, it seems, long-term. They have a good recruiting base down south. They actually have a pretty good history for a mid-major program, considering their history at FCS and their history, obviously, with beating Michigan. And who knows, maybe during that same visit weekend, Ryan Newsel, his tight end, will be there. Another guy who could end up there with him. His recruitment.
Well, and that would be huge because you have a familiar face. You have somebody going through it. Down at FAU, he was going to have that with JoJo Lewis, who was going to go there. So, yeah, he might have some familiarity there. It's just going to be a right fit. He told me that they want him to compete for the backup quarterback job next summer when he goes there, which is something that he's going to do, and he's a highly competitive person. He won the starting quarterback job at Braden River and basically came out of nowhere to become the type of player he is now, and very efficient with the football. He's got a lot of smarts in the field. He led them to a state Final Four appearance. They lost to St. Thomas Aquinas, everybody knows, in the Class 7A Final Four. So it's all right there for him. And as a player, you kind of really need to know and believe that you're going to the right spot and the right fit for you. And if you're uncertain maybe, or a better offer comes along, you can't really blame the kids for wanting to take that opportunity. I mean, coaching changes, coaches change at universities all the time, but Appalachian State is definitely a good program fit for a guy like him. And like you said, I mean, making that transition from 1AA to 1A, I still call it that. I don't do the FCS, FBS thing, but it's the right time for it. And so we have that, and then of course this week we have girls district soccer tournaments underway, and we have boys soccer district tournaments going on next week. We're down to, depending on what happens with in the Braden River district, because they open play when we're shooting this, but we already have teams qualify for the finals in the girls, which are Manatee and Lakewood Ranch, which is going to be a rubber match because those teams split in the regular season, and we also have Out of Door Academy and Braden Christian, which are pretty good, solid, smaller schools that are competing. And who do you like next week? Obviously, Lakewood Ranch hasn't lost in 2 months for the boys on the boys' side. Have not lost since November 9th, so they got to be a favorite to go walk through there. Are there any other teams that you've kind of seen this year that stand out to you in the boys' soccer district slate that can make some noise and make a move come the next round of the playoffs?
The two others I've seen were, and I actually played, I saw them play each other last week, were St. Stephen's and Palmetto. St. Stephen's, a really good, like you mentioned, small school program who beat Palmetto. Palmetto kind of in a little bit of a down stretch for them right now, but I saw them twice last week because they played Lakewood Ranch at the end of the week. They looked pretty impressive both times, just really struggled to find the back of the net. They were controlling possession, getting pretty good looks. They're in a tough district with Northport and Venice there, but it wouldn't surprise me if they got to the final there or even won that district.
Okay, well, that's it for us this week. So until next time, guys, Varsity 24/7, that's the sports app on your iTunes store or the Google Play Store for, depending if you're an iPhone or Android user. Otherwise, Bradenton.com/sports. That's on the web. Bradenton Herald. It's everywhere you can get the paper. Until next time, this is Jason Dill for David Wilson, and we'll catch you on the flip side.